Hello and welcome to Gallery Watch. I'm Nadia Hunter and today we're at the West Australian Museum for an incredible preview of the exhibition entitled A History of the World in 100 Objects.
It's a wonderful exhibition from the British Museum here in Perth at the Western Australian Museum. This is one of only two locations where this exhibition will be in Australia, the other being the National Museum of Australia in Canberra later this year. So I do encourage everybody from Perth and Western Australia who is able to visit to come and have a look. With my quick visit to this point, it looks absolutely outstanding. There is a range of objects, obviously 100 plus one other from Western Australia, which is significant, which are really important, some of them going back to 2 million years ago, and they do tell through their own individual stories the history of humankind over all of that period of time. This is an exhibition which was obviously developed in Britain around a BBC radio series initially, which I'm told was very, very popular within Britain, and we are now very fortunate to be able to see the results of the exhibition here in Perth in Western Australia. This is the last exhibition that will be here at the Western Australian Museum site in Perth until 2020, as the museum on this site will be closing for major redevelopment in June of this year. We will finally be getting underway towards the end of this year with the construction of the new Western Australian Museum here in Perth, which has been so needed for more than 20 years, and then between the end of this year and 2020 that will be constructed, and early in 2020 there will be the new museum exhibition spaces opened. So this is a big opportunity for people to come and see what's here. When they come back here in 4 years' time, it'll be a completely redeveloped site with an even better and more outstanding experience.
Well, thank you, Minister. I think that's a very comprehensive account of what's happened here. This relationship with the British Museum and the Western Australian Museum has been incredibly important over the last 5 years. It began with the Extraordinary Stories exhibition that we put together for CHOGM, for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting here. And at that point we signed a 5-year memorandum of understanding with the museum, and this is the third exhibition that's come out of that. We hope that that arrangement will stretch long into the future, particularly to the time when we open the new museum that the Minister's referred to, because the opportunity to bring material of such quality here gives Western Australians a really unique chance to see things that you wouldn't actually get the chance to see any other time. On my right here, this head of Augustus is only for the Australian tour. Nobody else will have seen this in the world unless they've been to the British Museum to see it. It's one of the signature objects at the British Museum, and again we like to think it's part of the confidence that the museum has had in this relationship. We're continuing to work with the museum on a number of other initiatives as well, but the important message I think is, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see this material assembled here together. Please come and see it. The museum is very much open for business here, so this is the chance to see it.
It's wonderful to be here in Perth and to see how wonderful the exhibition looks, so thank you to all the colleagues at the Western Australian Museum. We're absolutely delighted to continue our long-term partnership with the Western Australian Museum. As I said, it's already been 5 years and we do hope it will continue on into the future. What is really exciting for us is, as a museum of the world for the world, to be able to share our collection, which is very rich and diverse, with audiences here in Perth. And I do hope you all have a chance to come and look, because it looks absolutely stunning. And as Alex said, there are certain things that you wouldn't really be able to see anywhere else apart from the British Museum. So it's the very first time anywhere in the world this here in Perth. So I do hope you come and have a look. And also, it is really tremendously for us that this is the very last exhibition that you're having before you embark on your fantastic new project. It sounds really exciting, and we do look forward to continuing to working together with your new museum when it opens. Thank you. Okay.
you looking forward to tonight's preview?
Well, we're really looking forward to it because this event, it's a fantastic event in collaboration with the British Museum and the WA Museum, but also, so number one, it's a great event for Perth at a really cultural time or cultural phase that Perth is going through with PF and everything else as well. So it's a real draw card to get people into the CBD and into the culture precinct. Secondly, though, it's a little bit twinged with sadness. This is actually our last exhibition before the building closes, and then the excitement, though, is when our new museum, becomes open around 2020 as well. So, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we're really looking forward to that because there will be a real sort of new era for the WA Museum, and to be able to show some spectacular exhibitions more along the lines of, collaborations with the British Museum. The whole museum industry worldwide is going through a real renaissance, and we're looking forward to being part of that as well in Perth.
And it's such a beautiful building, I presume the heritage parts will be retained?
That's right, we wouldn't dare do anything with those, but it will be really exciting actually when all the finalists come out with their shortlisted sort of designs as well, because, I think for Perth, we want to really make a statement for the WA Museum, both in terms of architecturally for the museum, but also obviously it needs to function well as a place to show high quality, internationally renowned exhibitions. We really have a lot to offer here in Perth, which it will become internationally renowned, and we've really been hiding our light under a bushel a bit at this stage. So with the new museum, as part of the whole cultural precinct, that will become, a real world-beating sort of building and exhibitions as well.
And we're very fortunate that we are the first people in Australia to see this particular exhibition.
Absolutely. We've had a great relationship with the British Museum, and we hope that it continues going forward as well. Alec Coles, who's the CEO of the museum, has a fantastic relationship with them, and it's been a really great sort of collaboration with, between both parties.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I'll see you in there.
Thank you.
Looking forward to what you're going to discover tonight for the preview of the exhibition.
Yes, I am. I've been invited by my friend Bridget to come tonight, and I'm very excited to see what collections that have come from the British Museum and everywhere else to see.
And what about yourself?
Well, I was very involved with the museum for many years, and so I was on the board. And I'm just thrilled with what's happening here, and very, very excited about the new museum that's about to be built. So all this is empty. They've had to empty all the exhibition space and get ready for the new building, which is really going to be mind-blowing, world-class. Yeah.
It's fantastic, isn't it, the collaboration with the British Museum as well?
Yes. I mean, with many museums all over the world, we've had some wonderful exhibitions that they let all their precious articles come out here. Yeah.
I always wonder how they send them off,
Well, because, on an aeroplane you get vibrations, and it's the same with artworks,
I wouldn't want to be responsible for packing those.
No.
Well, thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
Well, we will indeed, yes. We will.
Dr. Moya Smith, thank you for joining us. And we're starting at the beginning of the exhibition. Can you please tell me about this stone chopping tool and the date specifically?
So this is the oldest object, humanly made object in the British Museum. It is a stone chopping tool that is 2 million years old and comes from Tanzania, from Olduvai Gorge. It was discovered in 1938 by Louis Leakey, whose son then continued to work in Tanzania. in the Rift Valley, and continue to find amazing objects made by ancient humans, or the ancestors of ancient humans rather than ancient humans. But people often look at it and say, it's just a lump of rock. You think, well, no, it's not just a lump of rock. It's clear that an early human has picked it up, has struck flakes of it, and then has used it to do something else. So it's this sudden explosion in the beginning of the human voyage to where we are today. It's wonderful to just catch that in one tiny little stone like this.
And you're enthusiastic because of?
Partly because I'm an archaeologist and we work in stone tools and I love rocks. But I love the notion that you can catch the idea of the beginnings of human flirtation with technology, and the idea that, and the changes that we make in our own cultures and that we make in our own lives. The thing about using an object like this is that you could suddenly access bone marrow, which may also have been something that stimulated brain development. So it's another part of that voyage of humanity.
That doesn't sound like an archaeologist to me. There's something else in there?
Oh, a little bit of anthropology, perhaps, yes. And also years of working with people. I work extensively with Aboriginal communities. It's to try and think beyond those barriers, beyond those sort of boundaries of what we learn as students, and to think really deeply about people themselves.
So what do you think about the installation in the foyer there?
I love that installation. I think it catches cutting-edge science. It catches a contemporary installation by representatives of one of the world's most ancient living cultures, and it ties it up in a way that then links with something that is seeking the origins of the universe, going back to the Big Bang, the cosmic dawn. So for me, it rounds up the exhibition by modernity and this incredible blast from the past. So it's everything. It's everything the exhibition is trying to do. I just love it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, Waya.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Gallery Watch in just a moment. Welcome back to Gallery Watch. We are here for the exhibition entitled A History of the World in 100 Objects. Hi Duncan, thank you for joining us. And you've had a chance to have a look around the exhibition tonight, haven't you?
I have, yeah. It's been fantastic.
Any particular pieces that really stand out to you?
I suppose for myself as English lit teacher, etc., and interested in history as well, I think this particular one interests me because of the poem by Shelley, Ozymandias. So that was a kind of a buzz. So you see the figure that Shelley wrote about, and I guess the idea of mortality. Here's a man who said he would live forever, the King of Kings. And so to read Shelley's poem was a bit of a highlight, I have to admit. And I'd never seen the film at Ramsay's, so I've only read Shelley's poem. So to have that, that was a highlight, I have to admit,
And sorry, you said you had seen some of these over in the British Museum?
Yes, before, yeah. Probably one of the ones I was looking for was the Elgin marbles. I don't know if they're here, only because I love John Keats. And his famous, the Grecian urn, Ode to an Grecian urn, is when he visited the British Museum and he saw Lord Elgin's pieces in the British Museum, which we are still trying to get back. So that's fascinating as well, to see the urn which Keats saw and inspired him to write the poem.
It's little snippets of history, isn't it, with obviously artefacts, history, and then writings.
We look at it today, and you look at these, and we're just reading little lines, but if you're a follower of lit, to realize that one of these pieces inspired Keats to write his poem.
Yes.
Or you look at Shelley, and his inspired him to write it. So, in that sense, to look at the relationship between history and art is in some way quite fascinating,
And it's also more, well, not literally more palpable than a book, but at least it's something that's in front of you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think when you see the visual and then you read the poem, it makes it a little more exciting, because you can read the poem and it's exciting and it embraces you in a way, and then you're saying, but what was it you saw? I mean, you describe it, but when you actually see it, then you can see what he was describing in the poem. And that,
so it brings you to the place.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Thank you
makes
very
it
much.
more alive.
We're really lucky to have this piece in the exhibition. It's one of the perhaps best known objects in the British Museum. It's quite rare that it leaves the British Museum, so to have it here in Australia as part of this tour is really, really special. And it's not just special to have it here, it's special to have it at all, because this is an incredibly rare object. It's rare to have surviving bronze sculpture from the ancient world. It just generally, we know there was bronze sculpture, it got melted down, it doesn't survive. So to have a surviving bronze portrait of such a famous historical character as the Emperor Augustus is really, really special. And to have the original inlaid eyes, I mean, this doesn't happen normally. It just doesn't happen.
And the date of this one?
So we actually know the date of this object quite closely, because the reason why it survives is it was captured. It was captured by an enemy of Rome, the kingdom of the Kush, who invaded southern Egypt after Augustus had claimed Egypt for the Roman Empire in 31 BC from Mark Antony and Cleopatra. He went about solidifying the territory, setting up forts along the southern boundary of Egypt. The kingdom of the Kush occupied what is now Sudan, and they invaded southern Egypt in around 25 BC, so not long after Augustus had claimed it as his own. This portrait head of Augustus was excavated in 1910 from the Meroe, from the Kushite capital of Meroe in Sudan, and it was buried underneath the steps of a temple to Victory. And it seems to be a deliberate act of putting Augustus' head, decapitated from his body, underneath the steps of the temple to Victory. So he didn't get all of his portraits back.
What a fantastic piece of history. And how was curating an exhibition like this? Obviously, it's international. You're bringing all of your very well-respected and beautiful, rare pieces from England. How have you found the journey from, obviously, organising original concept now to obviously the preview of this exhibition?
Well, it's been, I mean, this is very fundamentally a collaborative project. Between ourselves and the Western Australian Museum, in the final section of the exhibition, you'll see a representation of modern Australia combined with its ancient past, which the Western Australian Museum has curated itself. But also, the whole exhibition has been a collaborative process within the British Museum. I think essentially all of the curators in the British Museum have had input in some way in this project, selecting the objects, sharing their specialist knowledge with the information. So while I am nominally the curator of this exhibition, really the academic drive behind it comes from many, many people.
So much inspiration from the stars and antennas. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm an astrophysicist, so for a long time I've come from the point of view of examining the physics of the universe and the origins of the universe. And telescopes like the MWA are really time machines. So we look back in time to close to the beginning of the universe when the first stars and galaxies formed. So the MWA, as an astrophysical telescope, looks back in time roughly 13 billion years. So it's a search for the truth and meaning of the universe. And to build our radio telescopes, we need to be in extraordinarily quiet locations, which took us to the country of Charmaine and her people. because it's a long way from anywhere. It's remote, it's very quiet, it's a very beautiful place. So we build our telescopes out there and search for the meaning in the universe. And in 2009, I met Charmaine and her colleagues. 2009 was the International Year of Astronomy. And it was a little bit by chance, but we very quickly struck up this idea that we should do something together. So we went out to the site, we talked about the stars, we talked about our different stories, and really connected. And over the course of the next 5 years, produced these, well, Charmaine's artists produced these exhibitions. They travelled around the world. And then 5 years later, 2014, we went back out to the Murchison and sort of renewed our collaboration. And Charmaine is always pushing the envelope and comes up with these ideas for how to extend our collaboration, and even had me writing poetry.
That was a really exciting experience. I had Dr. Tingay, and I also had another scientist, a couple of scientists actually, writing poetry in the middle of Baladi about their experience there, and they were kind of like, we don't know if we can do this, and I'm kind of like, yes you can, because we're both sitting here together and I want you to write about your experiences, because we have to listen to the scientific side of stuff and we don't understand a lot of it. So we're just trying to make that human connection between the scientists and the artists, and what a better way to do it. And you know, I think the scientists did really well. We produced the antennas. This is our first collaborative installation by Yamaji art artists. And when we were out there, because we'd been painting stories and telling our stories about the Milky Way and collecting emu eggs and the Seven Sisters and the position and around food collecting, and telling our stories on the way we look at the sky. So we wanted to get the antennas so they cascaded from the sky like the sound waves and came down into what we reconstructed, one of the MWA antennas, and to put our hands on. And it was a pretty special way to do a different collaboration. It's the first time that Yamaji Arts has done an installation like this, so it's the first time that it's been produced in the Yamaji region, so that's kind of special as well.
Oh, look, we're so delighted to have this exhibition here. We've had a 5-year relationship with the British Museum, one that we hope will continue well into the future as we develop the new museum here in Perth. But this is really special. This is history of the world in 100 objects, first showing in Australia, some objects here that have never been shown anywhere outside the British Museum before. And we're just stoked about it, to be honest. And you can hear the excitement all around us. I think people are just, they're pretty much blown away by the quality of the material. I think in the old days, the big national museums, whether it's in Europe or anywhere else, might have lent you some of the crumbs from their table, but that's not the case here. We've got the absolute highest quality objects that have been brought and selected by the best curators in some of the best conditions. And what always happens here, which I'm very pleased about, whenever the people from the British Museum come here and they see what our designers have actually done with it, they always say, this looks better than we've ever seen it before. And I think we've got some very talented people here. And so, as I say, we're just delighted about it.
That's fantastic news.
Okay, and we just hope people will come, because of course the significant thing for us is this is our last big exhibition before we close this site for redevelopment and open again in 4 years' time, bigger and better.
Congratulations and enjoy the night.
Thank you. Thanks.
What a fascinating exhibition at the Western Australian Museum. I'm Nadia Hunter. See you next time on Gallery Watch.